Welcome to EnVision Center News. Today's episode is all about the Clark Fork Food Bank, and our special guest is Kaelene Bear, the director. We hope you enjoy. Welcome to EnVision Center News. My name is Sara Hensel, and I am the Lead Resource Specialist and Volunteer Connect Coordinator for the Community Resource EnVision Center. And today I have a special guest with me. Her name is Kaelene Bear, and she is the one that runs the Clark Fork Food Bank in Clark Fork, Idaho. Kaelene, we are so happy to have you here, and we are so excited to bring a bigger audience to know you and the Clark Fork Food Bank. So I'm going to ask you just a few questions. First of all, we want to know more about you and basically how you came to be in Clark Fork and how you started the Clark Fork Food Bank.
I've been here since I was 17.
Okay.
Just recently graduated high school, and my parents made a move up here, and they really didn't want me staying in the city, which was a big city down south that starts with a C in another state that starts with a C. And I had family friends to stay with, but they asked me to come up and help them get settled in. My mother says, give me 6 months to get unpacked. Well, 6 months leaves you right in the middle of December. You don't make a move in the middle of December.
No.
So 39 years later, here I am.
Wow.
Still, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
And you've really embraced the Clark Fork community. I mean, I can
have.
tell they love you and they are very appreciative to have you. So how did the food bank come about?
For me personally, the food bank came about out of necessity.
Okay.
There was a time that I was actually a client, and some say I have a gift of gab, a social butterfly. So after I would go there on Wednesday to pick up food, I would go in the back and help the ladies sort and fold clothes.
Oh, wow.
And one thing led to another, and then I started helping out in the food room.
Okay.
And then one thing led to 5 others. And
That's usually how it goes, right?
That's how it goes. So I've been doing that almost 9 years now.
Wow.
And that's just where we're at now.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. So the food bank actually was kind of there, and you were a volunteer, and
I was a client.
Okay, you were a client, and then you started kind of volunteering
Yes.
from being a client, and now you are, would you call yourself like the main person that runs it, the go-to person?
I am officially titled the director
Wow.
of the Clark Fork
That
Hope
is
Food
awesome.
Bank. Yeah.
That is such a great testimony to how you can take somebody from, that ends up being the client to somebody that is now serving others as
Right.
well. That's
Right.
great. I love that. So the next question, I know that working a nonprofit is a very tedious process and there's a lot of commitment. I know that some food banks only provide food for clients once a month, but you guys actually do it once a week is when you're open on
Yes.
Wednesdays from 10 to 2. So can you kind of break down the process of what it takes to run the food bank and how many people you usually need to do it?
Okay, we are open on Wednesdays from 10 until 2.
Mm-hmm.
We have the food room that a client comes into, signs up for. They have to meet an income criteria.
Okay.
We do have emergency cases. Something happens, we're there.
Yeah.
And that's what the food bank is all about.
Right.
Being there when you're needed. And once they qualify under the income criteria, we walk them through the process of as if they were walking in the door, signing their name for the first time, where to go, what to look for, how much you can take, what you have to do when you're done, because every bit of food that goes out of there is weighed.
Okay.
We track those numbers. We track them for the commodities program that we're involved in, which is federally funded.
Okay.
And we also track them for Second Harvest.
Oh.
And so a client would come in, we would get them their food. We also let them know that we have a clothing room that is actually open to the public.
Right, yeah.
That everything in there is free. You come in, you take what you can use, take it home, try it on. If it doesn't work for you, bring it back.
That's
Or
awesome.
use it, and when you are tired of it or grow out of it, bring it back.
Bring it back.
And we have everything from newborns to polyester.
I love that.
So,
That is so great.
and we have been fortunate enough for the last year to have the Community Resource Center involved with us.
Yeah.
That has been a huge blessing in the fact that it's helped a number of people.
Yeah. I noticed, you know, even when Annie was there, I mean, she really bonded with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And people really got, you know, to know her, and she was able to kind of build closer relationships with
Exactly.
those people. And
Because
so,
you don't deal with them just at the food bank itself.
Yeah.
These are people, these are your neighbors and
Your community
friends.
members,
Yes,
yeah.
your family.
yeah.
You name it. And there's no we don't have any hills in Clark Fork. We just have a level playing field.
Yeah.
And if I can help you out this week, maybe you can help me out next
Yeah,
week.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everybody kind of bands together, and
That's
they're
right.
always there for each other.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask is, you know, I noticed that I came in when I visited, and there was ladies out there folding clothes and you know, all kinds of different toys and stuff for children to come pick up. So what made you guys decide to expand beyond just food and doing like a thrift store there?
Okay, the clothing room actually was originally based out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church there.
Okay.
So they had the clothing room.
Okay.
So when the food bank moved there, some roughly 14, 15 plus years ago,
Okay.
they opted to put the two together and have them open on the same day to be
Nice.
able to help more people with just one trip.
Yeah, yeah. Which that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's like trying to knock it all out at once. That's
Yes.
great. So I know that you've made a huge impact on many lives. I mean, I talk to people on the phone and they're like, oh yeah, I know Kaelene. She, you know, she gives so much of her time away and that girl needs a vacation. So you think about
Oh,
that.
huge.
Yeah, you need vacation. So what are some future goals the food bank strives for here on out?
One of the things that we're in the process of doing right now is for the last 15 years roughly, we've operated under the umbrella of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Okay.
And that is only for the basis of acting in a capacity of a nonprofit, if you will,
Sure.
for tax purposes or whatever. We used the food or the church's EIN number.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And in the last 5-6 months, we have applied for our own EIN, which is an employee identification number.
Yeah.
We have become incorporated through the state of Idaho,
Nice.
and we are in the middle of the paperwork to become our own 501c3.
That's awesome.
And that, once that process is completed, that will open up so many doors for us
Oh, yeah.
as far as grants are concerned, because
Yes.
most of them, if you don't have that nonprofit status, you might as well not even apply.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because what a lot of people don't realize, we operate solely on donations.
Okay. Is that just local
That
donations?
is local donations. Avista makes a donation to us.
Okay.
We have multiple civic groups, you know, small little factions here and there
Sure.
that help us out. But it's the day-to-day people that walk up and say, here's $20, here's $100, you know, that type of thing.
That's incredible.
And another thing that people don't realize, and by any means not to knock Second Harvest, because they are a phenomenal organization.
Right, right.
But what a lot of people don't realize, because they say on their commercials that they give all their food to food pantries for free, that is not the case.
Okay.
They give the fruits and vegetables that are in season,
Okay.
breads, those type of things that they have, crackers, cookies.
Okay.
That type of stuff is no charge.
So only like select items, basically.
The staples, the
Okay.
rice, the peanut butter, oatmeal, those type of items, the standards that the food pantries have, we pay for those.
Oh.
Now, that was prior to COVID hitting.
Okay.
We had a purchase order that we used every month. We had a list of items that we could order off of,
Okay.
and we paid what they paid. There was no upcharge for shipping
Okay.
or handling or anything like that. So that aspect of it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But at that time, our monthly bill to Second Harvest would be $400 to $600 a month.
Wow.
And people don't realize, when it's solely on donations, it's hard to come up with that money every month.
Yeah.
And when COVID hit, they shut off all purchase orders.
Wow.
And so we basically were like Joe Blow walking in off the street into a grocery store and paying full retail for everything that we bought for the food bank, just to have the basics.
Wow. That's crazy.
And last year, tremendously, community, not just ours, but community stepped up.
Yeah.
I have to give kudos to Debbie Love with
She's
Bonner Community Food Bank.
wonderful. Yeah.
She was just so kind to us, in giving us things, in sharing information, driving, you name it.
That's awesome.
And the community brought donations left and right and gave money. And it was phenomenal.
That's great. So it really closed that gap that you
It
guys
did.
were
It
experiencing.
did.
Yeah.
And even though this year we're still kind of dealing with some of the effects of that,
Okay.
one of the things we will be coming up with issues, we do not only a Thanksgiving box, but we do one at Christmas as well.
Yeah.
Well, none of the area markets will allow us to go in and place an order for what we need, 150 turkeys.
Wow.
What Debbie needs, 650.
Wow.
And that's not counting our walk-in donations.
Wow.
And so we're going to have to run out and pay regular full retail price to be able to provide Thanksgiving dinners
Wow.
for the families that we do.
Yeah.
So those are things, that we worry about. The week before Thanksgiving last year, I was in Sandpoint every day just buying all the little stuff that went with it, because daily there was only so much on the shelf.
Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we weren't expecting that.
Yeah.
This year I got a little smart and I started earlier. However,
Time.
we've already started trying to pull turkeys in, because it's just...
And there's a lot of shortages right now on
Yes.
food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big issue.
So
with you guys getting the nonprofit status, that could definitely help the game as far as like more funding.
more funding,
Yeah, more
grants,
funding.
and
Yeah.
federal funding, yes.
Because it is, I mean, I can't even imagine. It's really hard just to be able to make it just on plain donations alone.
Right. And
So-
the fact that we've become our own entity now, we have drawn up a use agreement with the church,
Okay.
which means that we pay insurance now
Okay.
to cover accidents of anybody, whether they're volunteering there or it's a client coming in and they
Yeah.
slip, or any number of things. Any of our volunteer drivers, if they are using their own vehicle to go pick up a donation, whether it's something that somebody else has donated or they're on a shopping excursion for the food bank. If they are involved in an accident, they're covered under our insurance.
That's incredible.
So there are lots of
Added
pluses.
benefits.
Right.
So, and that's another thing is that I know that you guys are always looking for volunteers.
Yes.
Tell us what are your biggest needs as far as volunteers and what they can do and what you're looking for right now.
Our biggest need for long-term volunteers are drivers.
Okay.
Drivers that have their own vehicle, possibly have a small utility trailer.
Oh, okay.
Once a month, we pick up produce, box goods, dry goods, canned goods from Second Harvest here in Sandpoint. Once a month, we pick up commodities down in Coeur d'Alene. And then every Sunday, we pick up from Yokes. We have Susie, who is a phenomenal volunteer.
Yeah.
She and her husband go to church out in Clark Fork on Saturday. So they bring out Saturday's pickup from Yokes.
Okay.
And then Jerry, who's been doing it the longest out of all of us, close to 20 years, he comes in every Monday, so he picks up on Monday. And Sundays, my honey, Scott, and Nancy, who's another fantastic volunteer, they alternate Sundays. And it gets a little difficult sometimes with the amount of extra stuff.
Yeah.
I thought this would be a fun little volunteer thing to do, and it kind of, we touch it every day.
It's a job.
This not
is
just an adventure.
Yeah.
In one form or another.
Yeah, exactly.
So we are always looking for drivers.
Okay.
Those that can commit a month at a time, a specific week or two of the month, but they need that vehicle and the small trailer to be able to haul
the produce
food
and everything back and forth.
Exactly.
Okay.
The summertime generally tends to get a little lighter on volunteers because kids are home from school. People have vacations.
Yeah.
They are involved in a lot of other things that those are their busy times.
Sure.
And I am forever in search of people that like to take care of fundraisers.
Okay.
We have never had a fundraiser for the through the volunteers for the food bank.
Okay.
And this year I would like to do a fundraiser.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic way of involving communities, bringing them together, and raising money for a good cause.
Yeah.
And we're looking towards the spring of next year that if we could get something together, somebody that would willingly take on a project to brainstorm and head a volunteer program, possibly through the high school, to as a senior project to work in conjunction with one or two of the seniors through the high school and get a fundraiser together to help raise some money for the food bank.
That would be a good idea. Look at you. I think that's a great idea. So with that in mind, I think that you've kind of wrapped it up, but is there anything else that you want to tell viewers or community members, something that you feel like they need to hear, something that summarizes everything?
I always thought that I would never have to be one that would be in need of the food bank. And I'm not talking about seasonal workers that every year they know that during the winter time they need assistance.
Right.
I'm talking about actually wondering what you were going to cook for your next meal. And I've become very humbled by being involved in that experience on both sides of it. And whether you're a volunteer or you're a client, you are still a caring human being.
Yeah.
And a lot of the wording that goes around is you need a hand up and not a hand out. And we really try to strive for that, because I look at everybody and smile.
Yeah.
I don't care if I just saw you yesterday at the food bank or I saw you last night at a black tie affair.
Mm.
You're the same people to me.
Right, right.
And that's what it has to be. These are people that sometimes it's very difficult for them to admit that they need help.
Yeah, yeah.
And we are there to let them know we've all been there.
Yeah. And I think that makes a big impact on somebody's life when they can see that you've gone through the same thing too.
Yeah, to have that compassion, that empathy.
The empathy. Exactly.
Yep.
Kaelene, I am so happy that you came here.
Thank
and I'm
you.
so glad that we can bring more awareness to the Clark Fork Food Bank, because sometimes Clark Fork can be kind of like the forgotten community. And there's a lot of wonderful, special people out there. So, I highly encourage our viewers to even go on the Clark Fork Facebook page for updates. And then, once we get the Volunteer Connect thing set up and we're going to post some of those volunteer opportunities, please go on and commit your time to the Clark Fork Food Bank. I mean, you guys do so much.
We also have an actual Facebook page.
Yeah.
The food bank, under Clark Fork Food Bank.
Yeah, and so that's a great place to get updates, to know what's going on, to also know about volunteer opportunities as well.
I'm discovering so many people that didn't even know Clark Fork had a food
Yeah,
bank.
yeah.
And they've been there over 20 years.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't have to be from Clark Fork to participate.
We take from Pack River all the way to the Montana line.
Right. So that's, wow, I'm so excited about your goals and your accomplishments that you guys have done so far. And, we're excited for what's going to happen next with you guys.
We appreciate
you're going to make a big impact.
To be able to come and talk with you.
Well, thank you, Kaelene. And we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecidaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will see you again soon.